All right, I'm going live and I'm going to start recording
Okay.
in a sec. All right, I think you're good, Tom.
All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Smithville Village Council, roll call.
Allen,
Here.
Haas,
Here.
Heicher,
Here.
Mullins, Reed,
Here.
Thorne,
Here.
All right. You should have received in your email a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting. If you had opportunity to review those, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Here.
Thorne,
Here. All right. You should have received in your email a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting. If you had
That's not just me hearing that, is it?
No,
Nope.
I heard it too.
No. So,
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the previous business meeting.
thank you. Opportunity to review those. I would entertain a motion and a second.
Second, Thorne, once we get squared away.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
He's muted.
oh, he's muted.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Jose.
Thorne,
Yes.
All right. It's going real well so far this evening. Hopefully the rest goes a little smoother. There are no visitors. And again, the police chief had nothing to report this evening, so he will not be joining us. I know that he is preparing his annual report that we'll probably get 1st of January as well, some point. Then moving on, there's no correspondence that I have to share with you. And actually, there's no business unless there's anyone from council has old business that they would like to raise. Hearing none, then I'll go on to new business. And the first item on the agenda, actually, we'll have that at our special meeting, is the November financial report for approval. So we're going to go right into the items that obviously that Pam's been working on. And there's a couple of those things. We have you should have received a copy of 3 documents that she prepared for you. One would have been obviously the fund balance for 2021. It shows each of the funds. It shows budget revenues, budgeted expenses, and then it shows obviously what we would estimate to be our year-end balance as of 12/31/21. The other items that you would have received was estimated receipts budget for 2021. And again, that was something that I emailed over the weekend, and then she re-emailed today to each of you. And then the last item would have been the budgeted expenses, estimated expenses for 2021 as well. Again, those are the 3 documents that she had sent out. I guess I would ask if there's any specific questions on any of those 3 documents.
Just a general question. I see here on the document titled Fund Level Budget 11/29/2020, there is a coronavirus relief fund bucket. What is the thoughts on whether there'll be some additional relief from either state or federal due to continued expenses related to corona?
I have not heard anything yet.
Obviously, at the federal level, they still are debating as far as, I think that some have talked about having additional revenue, but until obviously something's passed, I don't think you're going to see that. And I think most of the state money was flow through money from the federal, that obviously the state received and decided to pass, some of those funds that were designated to the state of Ohio through to the local municipalities. The only thing on that I would note is that we did receive, I think since our last meeting, the actual check from the Bureau of Workmen's Comp, which basically was a little bit more than what our annual premium was. It was rebated back to us from the Bureau of Workmen's Comp from the state, which again is obviously a positive for us from that standpoint. But I think until obviously something's passed, we really, really wouldn't know.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And again, those are the documents that obviously that we've put together. And then later on, you'll see that we have our annual appropriations, which we have a resolution for that as well. Obviously approving the resolution or the appropriations for 2021. So, and Pam, I'll just ask you on the three documents that we have given to them, do we need to, or would it be wise for us to have a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve the budget. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But it's just simple motion for that. Obviously, we don't need a resolution.
Yep.
Okay. And again, if there's no further questions, I would entertain a motion in a second to approve the budget as presented for 2021.
I'll motion to accept the budget for 2021 as written.
Second.
All right, we have motion and a second to approve the budget for 2021 as presented. Any questions or further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Haas,
Yes.
Eicher,
Yes.
Mullins, Reed, Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
All right. The next thing on the agenda would be, we have on there is for John Parker, our zoning inspector. And again, John's obviously is an independent contract that works for us. And we had not given him an additional increase in 2021. The last time we did was January of 2019. Again, I spoke with him, and what I'm proposing is we'll have the same, obviously the same contract. The only thing that we did was obviously change the rate of pay from $18 an hour to $20 an hour. Again, I guess speaking on my behalf, I think that, John, with his background working Medina County in the various positions before his retirement, we have never had anyone so well versed in the area of zoning. He is just top notch in the way that he handles things from a perspective as far as professionally adhering to our zoning code, but also documenting and making certain all notifications are properly notified in writing, just the whole way through. His contribution to the village in the zoning area is worth, in my mind, well beyond obviously $20 an hour. But he is gracious enough to be willing to serve us in this capacity. But are there any questions regarding that?
I'm just reading through it, and there are just a few grammatical things that might want to be tweaked a little bit. I can
Did you
send
email
an
those?
email. Yeah, I can email after the meeting. Yep.
We would be glad to do that.
Okay.
That's not a problem at all. Appreciate that. Anything else as far as questions? If there's no other questions, I guess I would entertain a motion in a second to approve the contract with John Parker. And again, paying him at the rate of $20 per hour, starting January 1st of 2021.
Second, Thorne.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the new contract for 2021 for John Parker. Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Eicher,
Yes.
Mullins, Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
All right, the next item on the agenda then for this evening would be the 2021 annual appropriations legislation. And again, you should have received a copy of that in your mailing. And I will read the resolution. Says a resolution to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Smithville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Yes, but first, again, too, is there any specific questions regarding the document? And what we will do is, obviously, if there aren't, we will entertain a motion to suspend in a second.
Is the sound on? Second, Larry. Did somebody,
Yes, we have a motion to suspend from Trish and a second by Larry. Any discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, roll call.
Mullins, Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes.
Eicher,
Yes.
All right, then this would be ordinance number 2020-29. So 2020-29 is the ordinance number. And again, it's the resolution to make appropriations for current expenses, other expenditures of the Village of Smithville in the state of Ohio during fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency. And I would entertain a motion in a second.
motion to approve resolution 2020-29.
Second, Hawes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes,
Haas,
Yes.
Eicher.
Yep.
Mullins,
Yes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the appropriation amendment resolution. Obviously, this is for the year 2020. You'll see the document that was included. It shows various line items that are being obviously amended. And again, too, they're basically to, again, recognize and to balance for year end. So again, are there any questions concerning the document that was given to you? You should have 2 pages. The first one is appropriation amendment number 3. And then the latter page is 2020 appropriations amounts. And if there's no questions on it, I would entertain a motion to suspend again.
motion to suspend.
Second,
Larry.
Thorne.
Okay, we have a motion from Larry and a second from Scott. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes,
Haas,
Yes.
Eicher,
Yes.
Mullins, Reed,
Yes.
All right, The next item on the agenda is obviously council president election. Yes.
Wait.
Oh, we
we can
didn't
do
vote
that.
on the thing. Thank you.
Motion to approve resolution 2020-30.
That is correct.
Second.
Okay.
So we have motion and a second to approve resolution 2020-30. Again, it's a resolution of council of the village of Smithville in Wayne County, Ohio, authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer, decrease, and or increase appropriations and amend the certificate of estimated resources as needed and declaring emergency. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes,
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins, Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
All right, now we're to the next item on the agenda, and that would be council president election. Obviously effective the 1st of January of 2021. I guess at this point, if someone wants to nominate someone for that position, obviously you can nominate more than one person if you choose to. But again, we would entertain or open nominations on that election.
I'd like to say that I think Trish and Pam and the mayor are doing excellent work. I think things are moving along fine. And unless there are objections, I'd like to nominate Trish Mullins for president of council.
And do we have a second to that nomination?
Second.
All right. Are there any other nominations for anyone for president of council? Hearing none, then I would ask for a roll call on the election of Trish Mullins, to president position of council. Roll call.
Haas,
yes,
Heicher,
Yes.
Mullins. Oh, Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
And again, are there any other items of new business from council that needs brought before us this evening? If there isn't any, we'll go into liaison reports and we'll start with equipment and Scott.
Good evening. Nothing to report from equipment.
Okay, Larry for fire.
Things are quiet at the fire station. They've had about 100 fewer calls this year, and I think people are afraid to go to the hospital. And by the way, I love Zoom. Can we have a meeting at the, never mind, I'm done.
All right. Thank you for your commentary, Larry, okay? There's nothing for police this evening, so we'll move on to Veterans Memorial. And Joe?
Nothing new for veterans today.
Okay. Parks and trees, Matt?
a quick update to council that last week, Mayor Wayne Wargrit and I had a Zoom call with Jennifer Brown from CT Consultants to discuss potential grant funding for future park capital projects. We had a kind of a general discussion on grant opportunities out there, and I presented what our major capital improvement projects for the park, what we'd like them to be over the next 5 years based on meetings with the park board and the financial group discussing those. And Jennifer's recommendation was that the best opportunities are probably going to be through ODNR as far as grant fundings go. And ODNR likes to see community involvement in input on future projects for municipalities, particularly with their parks. And so she suggested having some sort of survey be put out to the community, which we'll be working on. She's going to provide some template survey questions that have been used for other villages, cities that CT's worked with over the years. And we'll see how, in what respect that goes out, whether it's via SurveyMonkey electronically or something through the mail or whatnot. We'll determine that later. But from there, it's just a matter of formulating a revised master plan for the park that would be shared with the community, but especially would be submitted with the grant applications, because those organizations, agencies that supply the grants like to see a plan in place and that you're moving forward through your plan and making progress. And so that's where we're at. It's going to take some time. There's money to be had. It's just a matter of having a good plan and process towards securing those funds. And also, it's not just going to be grant funding from government agencies, but a lot of it's going to have to come from local funds as well, what we can raise in our community, in our county. And so that's the update.
All right.
That's all I had.
Okay, any questions for Matt?
Matt, can I ask you, did you look to the Wayne County Community Foundation at all?
We'll definitely be looking there. Yep.
Okay.
We discussed that. Mayor and I have discussed that group as well.
Because I don't think we've actually applied for money in a long time.
Right. And that came up at the meeting last week. And I don't know if Mayor said it, probably, in that it used to be in the past, and I don't have any direct experience with this, but just talking with Mayor and some others, that in the past, that foundation, most of the money would go to Worcester proper, but they're branching out in the county. They like to see funds going to smaller communities outside of Worcester within Wayne County. So that's a plus for us.
Yeah, and I especially think if we haven't asked for money in a long time too.
Yeah. So that's definitely a source we're going to be tapping into. Thanks. That's a good idea. Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions for Matt, we'll move on to John with streets and sidewalk.
I have nothing tonight.
All right. And on finance and personnel, I think we pretty much took care of everything on the financial side through the course of the meeting. So anything else? Okay. Okay. Just a few things that I'll report to you on the mayor's report. Obviously, the BPA met last evening. There's a lot going on with them. We have a good group that's working very actively towards some of the projects that we're working on. They're continuing to work on the finalization of the water source protection plan, which is an EPA mandated document, when they're nearing the completion of that project. Some of the other things are they had further discussion on the I&I study relative to the sanitary sewer system, and engaging obviously CT in a basically an overview of the whole sanitary sewer system. There were some questions. Conceptually, they approved the concept of moving forward, but I did send out an email today basically raising some questions and asking for clarity, given the fact that a lot of the communications have been over a series of months with a lot of different emails. I wanted them to put that together in one email, basically committing the details of what will be covered and the cost of that. Again, that's something that obviously that they're looking at moving forward in 2021. One of the pieces with that will also be obviously seeing how we're going to fund that, obviously that project. And again, too, that's something that we'll work on. Along with that, I would say also, one of the things that we had some kind of beginning discussions concerning is as far as rates for both water and sewer. Again, the last time that the water was increased was back in 2017, which obviously we've completed 3 years. We'll be going into the 4th year since that. And if I recall correctly, the sewer has not been increased since 2014. Again, the last time the BPA made those increases, they said we're not going to wait as long, but I think they've waited as long. But again, especially with some of the projects that we're moving forward and the improvements we're making on the capital side. One of the things I did ask after their meeting last night, that after the first year, Pam and Becky are going to put together some cost projections from the standpoint of estimated revenues currently from those funds. And then also look at the estimated expenses, not only for operating, but capital. That way we can look at both of those areas on the water and also the sewer side. And again, too, they're going to reevaluate a portion of those rates go directly towards capital improvements versus operating. They may look at what portion of that, that rate amount would be necessary to maybe, to pay obviously for the capital obligations. The other thing that we've asked is we're going to do a survey of the communities that are similar in size to us as far as their rates as well. So we'll have kind of a benchmark of where we fall amongst, obviously similar sized communities. But we're going to put together some information, the BPA, the process, how it would work. BPA initially would make some sort of recommendation or decision that would ultimately come to council. Again, too, so as we work through that, obviously put together, the numbers to be able to look at. We'll be sure to share those with council because ultimately that will be something that will come back to council for the, final decision on. But again, too, I think with some of the things that we're looking at, again, too, I think there's justification from the standpoint of the investments we're making. The other thing I would say is on the water tower, they are moving forward in obviously the water main itself. If you've been out there, you can see they've made good progress out to the site itself. So they'll be completing that shortly. Then the next phase is obviously they're going to come in, and my understanding is they're going to do some foundational work soon. They've indicated that they're going to be bringing in some steel and beginning some of the steel structural support. So you'll start to see some of that happening as well. Again, the other thing I would mention as well, if you recall that Green Township had committed obviously some money to us. They did forward to us. We received a check from them today for the commitment that they made towards the water tower. So again, we're appreciative of them. Again, one of the keys behind that was it did gain us some additional points on the scoring for OPWC, and we appreciate their willingness to work with us on that project. So again, I think those are the things that I can think of that are ongoing in relationship to, as far as the BPA and what's happening there, those folks. They did select basically the colors for the new tank, as well as, the lettering and what they want on the tank itself. That was decided as well by that group. So any questions for me?
Mayor, can you remind us what's the final in-service date for the water tower, the new water tower? Not a specific date, but a roundabout.
Yeah, I would say it's probably going to be late summer of 2021. And again, just depends on how quickly things move. So, and again, too, there's a tentative date, but I don't know that at this point that they really know for sure, quite honest. A lot of it probably has to do with this winter, obviously, and how much, weather might impact what they're able to do at certain points. So.
And then demo on the old tower, the current tower begins after that?
After that, simply because what we have to do is have this one online and operational, make certain it's operating properly.
Right.
So that way then, before we take that one offline. And along that line, I will say that Mike did report at BPA that Ohio Drilling, the last component of the well work that was done on 2 of the wells was they pulled our pumps and they rebuilt those pumps. And we were on loaner pumps from them during this interim time. But they have completed that, and they were coming out this week to put our pumps back in. So their work will be done in relationship to obviously the ability of the water pumps to be able to generate the water necessary. And then also too, ProTech has been in, and ProTech has actually upgraded the obviously the SCADA or the communication system between the well field, the water plant, and the water tower. And again, I know that because one of the new upgrades on that is obviously if there's an issue with the water levels in the tower or at the well field or somewhere in the system, we get alerts. And the new system has the ability to alert us by text, which they did a test on that. And obviously I'm on it as well as Mike's on it. And I was trying to think PTA president's on it. And then obviously operator of the plant is as well. So again, it will be upgraded, and I feel confident, at least going forward, the new communication system will ensure that if we have issues, we'll know about them before it becomes obviously an issue with water pressure and the ability to obviously serve the community. So those things are also in place too, which is good to know that that's come along. We did sign contract C when you asked about the demolition of the old tower. We had not signed that contract because obviously it wasn't going to happen for some period of time, but we did sign those documents this past week. So that contractor has been obviously engaged. We will give them a notice to proceed once we know when the new tower will be completed, and then it's up and online and we're good to go. So, any other questions? If there isn't any, I think then we'll move on. We did have bills this evening. And again, too, you should have obviously 3 different bill lists. Ones were ones that we had already paid. I think we have one that was an online payment for Bureau of Workers' Comp. And then we also had the normal bill list as well.
We have to pay those bills individually or all together?
I have no problem with you approving them together.
A motion to pay the bills in the amount of $129,614.81.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the bills as presented. Any questions or discussion on the bill list? Hearing none, roll call.
Eicher,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
All right, the next thing you'll notice, our next council meeting is December 29th at 7 p.m. That's a special meeting. At that meeting, generally what we'll be doing is obviously any year-end adjustments that need to be made to balance the funds. Those will be presented and we'll pass that legislation. Again, you know, it's important that we have obviously a quorum necessary to be able to suspend so we can pass that legislation that evening. So we'll count on that, plan on that. Are there anyone at this point that would not be available? Just one double check. All right. Again, we'll plan on that, but then if there's nothing else this evening to be taken care of. Oh, the only thing I should mention, talking about bills, Trish came in tonight and signed. I think Beverly had sent you an email, all of you. You know, normally when we're meeting, there's things that you folks need to sign, particularly for council members of the bill list. Given this year end, rather than waiting, given that we may not be meeting for some time in person, if each of you could arrange a time to come in, they'll have you sign the documents that you need to sign. Trish had other things, so she came in this evening and signed those. But especially with year end, we'd just like to be able to go ahead and sign those things and file those away and be done with those. So if you could make certain to make a point to do that, that would be appreciated by Becky, I'm sure. If there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Sorry, Scott.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, well, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And like I say, we'll look forward to seeing you then on the 29th for a Zoom meeting.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah,
Merry
stay
Christmas.
home.
Thanks. Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
everybody.